to introduce Sarah Hayes. She's a dedicated digital forensics professional with a deep passion for IoT forensics. As a digital forensic researcher at Hexordia, she specializes in analyzing artifacts from IoT devices, exploring digital forensic data sources, developing and teaching comprehensive curricula and exams for both in-person and virtual IoT training programs. She has completed groundbreaking research on devices such as the, Oura Ring, and Facebook Portal. Her research has been presented at multiple conferences, including SANS DFIR Summit and IASIS. Her experience contributes to advancing forensic education and the understanding of IoT technologies in the digital forensics field. So welcome, Sarah, and let me give you our thank you gift for speaking.
Thank you very much.
And I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. That just made me sound really fancy. I'm Sarah. I'm a forensic researcher at Hexordia. Previously, I worked as a digital forensic examiner, IT security, HIPAA compliance officer. I have a bachelor's degree in computer forensics, digital investigations through Champlain, and I'm a member of the HTCIA New York Metro chapter.
Woo, New York.
Today's agenda, we're going to talk about what is Oura Ring, where is the data located on an Android device, in the cloud, and in a Google takeout. Oura Ring was developed in 2013. It was not released until 2015 by Petri et al. So it's a Bluetooth wearable tracker that we can wear on our finger. I actually have two today that I'm wearing. I have a Gen 3 and a Gen 4 we're going to talk about. The Generation 3 has a titanium exterior with an epoxy resin interior. Measurements are more static and fixed. They use a PPG sensor, read resting heart rate variability, perspiration. They also have an accelerometer to detect motion.
Wait, and why is it got a plunger?
Oh, she saw the slide and thought this thing was a plunger. This is actually the charger. It does not plunge anything, I promise. Here we have on the Oura Generation 3, we have programming pads. So tear downs of these devices are very, very difficult because of the titanium and the epoxy resin. There have been a couple that have tried to tear this down. However, they were not able to remain intact. So being able to look at everything inside of it is very difficult. And Oura does not like to put out what type of sensors and everything that's available inside of it. It's proprietary information. So here we have on your left side, we have the green and red LED sensors. On the left, I was able to use a microscope to be able to take a look and see some of the programming. So we have presumed programming logic that's in there. Generation 4, it no longer looks like a plunger for the charger. So it's titanium on the inside and the outside with just cutouts for the actual sensors. They moved over to using, with Generation 4, a smart sensing with 80-something different sensors and algorithm that they use now to be able to dynamically select what type of path it wants to use on the ring itself, to be able to create the heart rate, the motion, everything like that. Again, we have the green and red LEDs. And then in here I show a close-up version of the LEDs. We have an accelerometer, and you don't see in this picture, but there's actually a digital temperature sensor that is very pronounced on that Generation 4. And anyone can walk up when you're done and take a look at them if you'd like to. The Oura Ring application. So what I did was I used a rooted Google Pixel 6a for the Generation 3 and the Generation 4. What I did was I was able to unlock the bootloader. I have a QR code or a link if you would like to understand how to do that on the Google Pixel 6a. Hexordia has a great walkthrough on how to do that. I'll give everyone a moment if they want to take a picture. Okay. And then we have to root it. So I rooted this device using Magisk. Again, we have a great walkthrough on the website hexordia.com. By doing that, I was able to grab a full file system of the Android Google Pixel so that I can take a look and see where all the data is stored. Here's the application itself. We have the generation, we have firmware, we have the ring, the size, the bootloader information, we have serial number, and we have the MAC address. So if during investigations, if you have the device itself, you know you can confirm what these are, but I'll show you where in the data you're gonna find them anyway. So Oura application is pretty interesting. There's a lot of data that's available. This readiness score that you see with the 87, readiness score is based on your overall health. It's not based on anything specifically, it's just how you're doing in general. I have an 87 because I cannot wear these to sleep. I have tried, and then they get ripped off in the middle of the night. I'm like, okay, there's it done. The walking, we have walking, cycling. I'll tell you something interesting about that cycling in a little bit. And then we have our sleep score. So sleep score 92 overall, because I like to tear these things off during the day, we only get a readiness score of 87. So my walking heart rate is 117 for just walking. That is because I decided to take my beagle on his very first walk around humans and water. That was a very large mistake because either wanted to take me swimming or wanted to talk to everybody that was walking by us. It was very stressful. Connected applications. For the Android device, we have Strava and we have Health Connect that the user can connect with, and then data is bidirectionally shared. So Health Connect shares all of these different measurements back and forth between Health Connect and Oura. There's a lot. It's one of Google's now new primary health tracker device applications, only because they're getting rid of the Google Fit. We also have Strava. Not as much information is shared with Strava, but there is data that's available. So these are the two that you're primarily going to see on any type of newer extraction for the Oura Ring application. We're going to see some historical data that's available with Google Fit on some of the older databases that are available. And we're going to temporarily see some Google Fit Health Connect where you can find some of the Oura application information. That's going to be until about 2026, and I think that's when Google Fit is completely getting rid of the application and everything. So after that time frame, you still may see some historical, but going forward, you should not see anything with Google Fit. All right, so on the Android device. So what do we do when we start investigations? We start immediately trying to get as much data as we can as quickly as we can. So I ran the image once I did the extraction through ALEAP because I was able to get information faster than running it through autopsy to begin with. Here we have our package name, com.ouraring.aura. We have the time that the application was last opened, and then we have the account information. We also have first download. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to see. Sorry about that. It's probably gonna be the same, okay. I know it's hard because it's a screenshot, so. All right, so this is runtime permissions. This gives us permissions, what I gave permission for the Oura Ring to do with the device. Did I give it permission for Bluetooth? Did I give it permission for Wi-Fi? Is there a camera available on the Oura Ring? The answer is no, but did I give that? The answer is gonna be false on this runtime permissions. Data locations. These are the primary 3 locations you're gonna see Oura Ring data. So at com.ouraring.aura, when Oura just updated their application, I believe it was October of 2024, they changed over where the data is completely stored. So now we have so much more data that's available at com.ouraring.aura, which was never there before. So if you have historical data, a lot of it's not gonna be in the com.ouraring.aura, it's gonna be in the other databases that we talk about. So here we have the bootloader, we have the firmware, we have, I really like how they came out with Oreo. I know, again, you can't see it, but they came out with the firmware for the Oura Ring as Oreo, and it's actually interesting because Android has different flavors, and now Oura Ring is copying that over. So I was like, oh, look, it's Oreo. I know that one. All right. Wow, these screenshots are terrible. I'm sorry about this. So we're gonna have the manifest.json, which is more historical. That's gonna give you the firmware, the package information, the bootloader, and then we have the new, oh good. I put an epoch time in there so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so now this is gonna be where all of the data is stored for Oura Ring. is going to be at files app.log. So we're going to have the MAC address, we're going to have the firmware version, we're going to have the serial number. Again, we're going to have the glossy black size 9, we have the API version, we have the hardware version, and then we have the setup date. So Oura Ring runs in Unix milliseconds in order to look at their timestamps. Oh, we can see some. Okay, good. Yes. Okay. So this is where we have our events that we can see. We can see workout information. We can see start and stop times. And then, so I had the funny little story about the cycling. So when I was driving to the location to do data generation, because I try not to do that at home, because I don't want things showing up on the device where I live, and it detected I was cycling, riding a bike while I was in my car. Not that slow. You've been in the car with me, that does not happen. So we have cycling that comes on, and I pressed confirmed because I wanted to see what the data looked like, even though that's not what I was doing. So it just shows that it was there, but it actually tells me that I confirmed that this was the actual workout that I told it that it detected automatically. I just hit the button, user interaction, I hit confirm. So I'm telling the application that I did that. So then we have, I don't think you can see it there. Okay, we have walking. I don't know if you guys can see that in like the very top box. So that is a manual entry. So I'm able to manually tell the application that I did an activity.
So we can tell the difference between
You get confirmed and that automatically detected. One of the caveats to walking a beagle is that your hand tends to stay firm. So the Oura Ring didn't do a whole lot of detection because that hand was not moving that had the Oura Ring on it. But
well, so this is good because we can tell the difference between if somebody tried to insert an alibi or if it's real.
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. So on the application itself, you can see where we can manually enter it. So we can select an option, and then we can select whatever activity that comes up in their list. And I think there's 75 different type activities that we can select. And then it'll ask you what the start time was, how long it was, and what your intensity was. If Oura Ring detected a heart rate around this time, it'll sync that up as well to give you that additional heart rate data. All right. So here we have the native app.json. We have here again, we're going to confirm the application version of Oura Ring, the installation UUID. Again, you can't see these screenshots. It's terrible. Sorry about that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this one says Crashlytics.
Yes.
Are these just from when there's errors encountered, or does it record all regular activities?
So this one detects just information. The specific Crashlytics only detects this specific information. And then there's additional applications. I don't know if you guys can see them, like here.
It's just a version number. And it's
Yes.
not, so it's just confirming the data about the ring, not the activity.
Correct. It's just if the application crashed, and it'll dump a bunch of information into these three. And if you go back out, you'll see the, up here at the top, you'll see this ID number. So if any crash events will automatically pile under that number that's associated with the device, the application. We have the Oura preferences XML. Here we set the user can set their preferences. Do they want notifications? Do they want circle? Do we want to tell me when I've been inactive? Circle is actually pretty interesting because you can share data with another user. I have yet to find where that information is stored on the device, so that is a work in progress. But I have, because I have 2 different phones that I'm working with, so I should be able to see it at some point. I'm just trying to still figure out where that data is stored. But if it's enabled, you will see a text message that comes through because the person has to confirm that they want to be part of circles. So you may see messages that confirms another user is added to the circles. You do see that information in the messages. Health Core DB. So this is where information historically was stored. This is where you normally found everything. However, there's less and less data available in this application at present. I feel like when Google switches over and converts, we'll have a lot more data in here, but I think they're still trying to migrate a lot of that information over. It does give us our last sync time when the Ring actually syncs to the device. A lot of times the Ring won't automatically sync to the application. Getting a trigger by connecting the Ring to the base, swiping down on the application to tell it, hey, I want you to sync, which I had to do a lot while I was walking the dog because it didn't want to say, hey, you're doing something. So we have health core DB, and then we have, additionally, because this is where it's saved, we have biking information. We see how we have, I don't know if you guys can read this, we have an update time. That's when the Ring synced to the device. But we'll get that start and stop time of the activity over here. And then it'll tell you actually what the user was doing by biking. Then in the application itself, we can confirm any activity that they were doing if the data was stored there. So here I have that I was walking, this is the path I took. I'll caveat that with the Oura Ring does not have location data or a way to do GPS location. It is only if you have the associated device with it. It does not even sync the GPS information if you have them separated.
So if you're wearing your Oura Ring, you go for a walk,
Yes,
but you left your phone here at the hotel.
this
then
connected phone, correct.
It would not give a map like this. It would
Correct.
just say the number of steps.
Yeah, so it'll just say the number of steps, the distance. It'll give you distance. It'll give you like your heart rate. It'll give you how many calories they think you burned, things like that. But again, we're just finding.
From a security perspective, worse from a forensic perspective.
Agreed. And I think I've always said that too. I'm like, I think I was telling you earlier, I'm like, I really want GPS to be on here at some point because I think this would be amazing.
From forensics to
For a forensic. I look at everything from a forensic perspective, not from a personal health use, because when I create these, I create different personas. I don't ever use my own health information, my name, nothing. I obfuscate my IP address as much as I can to be able to do things like this. Let's see. All right, so then we have data type. So data type 12 that you're gonna see in the apps.healthcare databases, healthcore DB. Data type 12, which is what this box is indicating, will tell you that the user was sleeping. It'll give you a start time, an end time, and the sync time, which is great information. But identifying what that user was doing at the time is the challenge, obviously, in forensics because of a lot of the type coding that we get. Google Fit, we do have some.
Is that the only type code you know? Is just the 12?
On this database.
On this database?
On this database, yes. I'll get into the other
Okay.
ones in a minute. Google Fit, we do have some information that's available here. Again, we have activity in the Google Fit database. So we have 72, which will indicate sleep in this database.
Why would they be the same?
They're never going to be the same. They're just not. They just don't want to play nice together. Activity type 7 is walking, and activity type 1 is cycling or biking, as we saw. The null is just your heart. It's just them picking up your heart rate. That's all that one is. And usually, when you find and you look through the database, you can usually find the start-stop time to be exactly the same for all, for 3 different activities. So it'll say, yeah, go ahead. Okay, thank you. So they'll have all 3 at the same time, and it'll have the same sync time as well. Historically, this is where we're going to find information about the fitness database for Google Fit. Again, we're still going to see the 7. We're going to see the 72 that indicate that information. And again, this is going away. This is not 45. I've not been able to figure out what it is, only because it has a hash value associated with it. So I have not dug into it because this is an older database that is not available in the current application. Cloud. If you have access to the user's cloud, we have a lot of information that's available here. Sleep periods, daily sleep, daily readiness, activity, notes and tags, daytime heart rate, ideal bedtime, location, and O2. I really like the location not sure you can see it great, but we have lat and long. We have timestamps that are associated with them, and then you can actually plot the coordinates. So we can get some great information if we have access to the user's cloud database. Sleep, again, so sleep is a really interesting one because in the database itself, we have the start time last and the end time first, and that's because the end time is going to be the date that the user woke up. The start time is the user fell asleep. So at the end where you see day, that's going to be with the day that they woke up, not the time that they went to sleep. Google Takeout does have Oura Ring information available. We have step counts. We have distance. If we coordinate that back with the app.log, we can verify and validate that information that showed up in the Google Takeout. Future work, I'm going to identify every single activity type that is listed in the options, but that's a huge undertaking and I'm working on it. API and tokens to get the data from the cloud itself. iOS analysis, I've already done the entire data generation and I'm just working on analyzing the data from the iOS device. And then creating parsers for ALEAP and iLEAP. Questions, comments, concerns, if you would like slides, you're welcome to link up with that HTTP website and get it. Go ahead.
Does the Oura Ring? Oh, really? Okay. Does the Oura Ring have any way to verify the identity of the person wearing it? For example, through blood vessel pattern analysis?
No.
Okay, so you could just give the ring to someone else, and they could generate data
Correct.
for you. Okay.
And I've done that.
Yeah.
And it just shows up as it's mine.
Yeah.
It'll change my readiness score.
So there's your alibi right there.
Agreed. But you can change your readiness information. So it'll, like, you wear the ring for a while, it'll automatically start detecting your overall health and like give you that number that I showed you at the beginning. So if somebody else wears it, that readiness is going to change.
Okay, cool.
Similarly, I'm loud, don't worry about it. Similarly, is that readiness in between the 3 and the 4, is the temperature that really like helps fine tune that because different body temperatures?
Not just the temperature, but the motion. Because the sensors have improved a great deal with Generation 4 compared to Generation 3. So that is a huge, huge difference because like if I just move, it's gonna pick up something. Where Generation 3, we have like 3 bubbles on it that kind of, because it's an epoxy resin, it doesn't automatically connect right to your skin. Where the other sensors do, if that makes sense.
It does. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was kind of surprised there's no, like you weren't able to get like great internal photos of it. Did they have, I mean, you said that it was hard to get in there with the resin. Well, do they have like FCC documents that they submitted where you have internals, really?
Because it's not in the US.
Oh, okay. That'll do it.
They are not available.
Okay, cool.
But to actually get pictures of the internal, they do have a couple where you can, there's like a YouTube that they have available. You can take a look at some of them, but they clearly show only a certain angle on purpose so that you don't see everything that's in there. Generation 3, I fix it, and one other company did x-rays of it, so you can see some of the components, but because a lot of it's proprietary, you can't identify what they are.
You can see the layout.
Interesting.
You
Yeah.
can see the layout, and you can kind of guess what they are, but that's about it. Thank you. Great question. Yeah. Who wants to go next? Okay. All right.
What about intercepting the data? So what about intercepting the data? If someone's in your circle, then you somehow have access to their information. Does that mean you could use your rooted pixel in order to pull some more, go to the store to pull information down, or is there other things like how good is the encryption here?
That's a great question. Yep, sorry. That's a great question. Because I have not found where the data is stored from circles yet, I'm not sure, but even on the application, there's not a lot that shares. You can see that that user connected with that person. So as far as security goes, I searched the entire database for the other user's like name. I searched the entire full file system for it. I was not able to find anything related to the other user. What?
And the serial number.
And the serial, right. And there was nothing there.
Are you able to load other firmware on the Oura Ring? Have you looked into that?
You are not able to.
Okay.
No. Great question. Go ahead.
With the application itself, is there any like anti-forensics built into it, any obfuscation, or is most of the research to this
Great
point been
question.
primarily around the database?
There's the only way anything for anti-forensics is the passcode to get into your phone. Otherwise, if you get the passcode in your phone, I can look at your Oura Ring data. There's nothing that says that I can't get into it and look at all of your information. I can look up everything you're synced. I can look up your GPS data. No, it's not a regular backup. You need a full file system. It does not show if you just do just a quick backup of the device. Okay, great question. Next, back there.
Oh, sorry, mine's super quick. Like with your credit card information that is stored on there, is that anywhere in the?
No. So when I'm going to caveat that is I did not enter my credit card information on the application. I did it in the cloud.
Okay.
And there was nothing, even if I go to the cloud to try to get that information, it doesn't show me my credit card information. It doesn't even store it there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who was it that was going?
Just the question is, what about data integrity? Are you able to manipulate those databases to make it
Yes.
fabricate?
Yes, when we have the .db, the health core DB, yes, we are able to, and then get them. I'm able to manipulate that database, and then I can save that database with different data if I wanted to.
Yeah, but your hash value wouldn't match your original forensic.
Correct, but you can manipulate it, but it's not. You would be able to detect that. So, yeah, we have a question.
Where?
Right over here.
Was there any data that was being gathered or utilized in functions that weren't? Was there any data that was being utilized or gathered in functions that weren't objectively clear to their purpose in the app?
Yeah, I mean, really just the activity, the sleep. You have to try to coordinate everything to try to figure out what that is. Some of the databases, like I showed you biking and cycling, some of the other databases don't show that, and they don't correlate with where that data came from. So you have to kind of piece it together.
Okay.
But other than that, right, and lining up the databases to see what matches the timestamps that match, and basically what I was doing. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Back there. Jessica, you want to start running these?
Thanks for sharing the research. It was amazing to see all
Thank
that. Just want to know, after having done all this, what would you do differently if you could do that again?
Because I still have ongoing research with it, what I would do differently is I would probably try to wear the device a lot more to see what activity is different than what I am personally doing. Like we saw cycling, but I want to see what other data is incorrect. Because I think that's a big thing for forensic investigators too, is to understand what is wrong and what it's not doing well. So, right, or it's mislabeling. That's the type of thing that I probably would do more. And Oura Ring always changes. I went from Gen 3 to Gen 4. Who knows when the Gen 5 is going to come out, and then I'll probably update that as well. Yeah, and then iOS will be different too. So, any other questions?
We're out of time.
All right.
Sorry. Got to give a minute or two for our next presenter.
Appreciate it. I have so much stuff.